Hey, it's Mario. I got a text from Bobby saying, hey, I need an intro and an outro added to my patch notes video that I just now put in the Google Drive 12 hours before the video was supposed to release. He didn't give me an intro. He didn't give me an outro. So this is the intro. It's not like I'm on vacation with my family or anything, you know. No, I'll make some time to get this intro recorded for you. Give me an intro next time, you turd. Enjoy the video.
Danny Phantom Janus, this is probably going to be the cleanest skin in the patch. Danny Phantom Janus is a clean idea. As long as it looks good, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. The Freya one, I mean, it's on Freya. It'll probably look good. I'll give it a little like 5, maybe a 6, just because it's... Freya doesn't really have skins that look good other than the tennis one. Invader Zim, Cupid. Maybe. I never liked Invader Zim when I was a kid. Boo! You stink! Cupid also is another god that has just too many good skins, so this skin isn't going to stick out too much. Powdered Toastman Gilgamesh. I don't even know what the f this is from. What absolute horrible show had Powdered Toastman as a character? Boring. This is the worst one. 0. Don't care. The same thing I said about Janus is the same thing I'll say about Rocco Danza. It fits perfectly. As long as it looks good in game, I think it'll be a 10 out of 10. Rocco's great show. Great show. This is the new best Geb skin, and it's not even close. It's not even close. If this looks good in game, this is the best skin out of this entire patch. We're scaling incorrectly and doing more damage than intended. Holy f. Everything on the map is just doing more damage than intended. Fixed an issue where offerings were giving more mana than intended. I liked that, dude. I can't even tell if it was every time or just most times, but it felt good getting the mana you're getting. The time brawling applies out of combat increased from 3 to 5, which is... This is a very good change, because 3 seconds was far too short. There was way too many times when you were trying to heal something and you had to sit there for 6 seconds because you didn't get a heal off in the first 3 seconds. Otherwise, you'd be healing for 80% anti-healed. I mean, this is okay. Supports are getting 0.05 extra XP, which is, I mean, it's good. So now Joan's Wrath was moved. Every time you damage an enemy god with the ability, you get a stack of wit at 2 stacks. Your next non-ultimate ability that damages an enemy god gets 25% off its cooldown instantly refunded. Damage an enemy god with an ability, you gain a stack of wit. On low cooldown gods, where you use 2 abilities and then a third one, your third ability will be up a little bit faster. The one that's unchanged is the healing one when you're below like 50% or whatever it is. The one that is changed is the one where you do extra damage. I mean, this is good. This is going to be very good. And any item that gives you cooldown on an item or on an ability outside of just building cooldown is always good. So now if you go Jotun's Cunning on Dodgies, Ravens, and Hunbots, you just get abilities up more often. It's going to be, I mean, it's not bad, that's for sure. Perfected Rod applies a mark for 3 seconds. Damage on the second time with another ability. Consumes a mark and provides you 10% movement speed for 2 seconds. It reduces your non-ultimate abilities. That's cool. This is actually pretty cool. Another cooldown reducing one. Now on spam gods where you don't want to just like Scylla root into a crush them, you can just do this one to get your cooldowns back up. Pretty good. Nimble Bancroft, this is just Nimble Ratatouille. Bancroft's Claw. This art is sick. Every 15 seconds you get a stack of Hunger, max 3. So every 45 seconds you get 3 stacks. Abilities cast within 30 seconds of enemy gods consume a stack, dealing bonus damage equal to 0.5% of their maximum HP for each 75 power you have. Damage by Hunger provides you with a shield of 1% of your maximum HP for each 75. So that's a lot of percentages. So it's based on the 75 magical power you have. We'll round this to 750 magical power, which is super high, but that's all I can really round up to because it's 750 or 75, which is just a weird number to have it at. Say you go into a fight, you have 3 stacks. Abilities cast within 30 units of enemy gods consume a stack, dealing bonus damage equal to 0.5% of their maximum HP. So this can do like 5% of their maximum HP, and then it can stack 3 times. It feels good. It's like a burst ability. Each god damaged by Hunger provides you with a shield of 1%. So this shields you for twice as much as your damage does. I don't know why it just doesn't say that. It would make it sound so much just simpler if it's just each god damaged by Hunger provides you with a shield of twice as much as the bonus damage did. Oh, this is their HP. This is your HP. Okay, you're right. Good call. Nimble is like a solid item when you get into the late game. So say you're an Ola run or something like that. You're getting 120 power, 10% cooldown. In an actual fight, your attack speed will scale up the more damage you take because the more power you'll get, which is pretty cool. A pretty good way to, like, I don't know, combine both of those. In what scenario are you like, damn, I could really go for a Bancroft here over Magus, over Typhons, over Pythags, over Book, over Warlocks? The gods that are building Bancrofts are like Soul, maybe Anubis. I mean, maybe other ADCs. Freya's. The value in Bancroft's is just not there. You also have to add in the fact that you have to buy 600 gold of this glyph on top of Bancroft's being, I think, 2,500 currently. So this item right here is 3,100 gold. This item right here is 3,100 gold. The idea of both of these are very good. Like Nimble Bancroft is a good idea. Bancroft's Claw is a good idea. The problem is Bancroft is just kind of a dead item. If it reduces Bancroft or gets rid of Bancroft's passive, it makes it even worse. We'll see, but so far, it's just Bancroft makes these problematic. Ferocious Executioner, inheriting Joan's ferocity. Your next basic attack marks an enemy god. If you hit the marked enemy, or the marked enemy hits you with a basic attack. So this is just the old, it's just this one. Any god that wants to buy pen now. So like Nemesis, I mean, you can even look at gods like Osiris, Erlong. There's going to be a lot of value in this Executioner now. Looking at Heavy Executioner, basic attacks against an enemy reduces your target's physical protection by 70% for 3 seconds. Stacks 2 times, and it's stacked at, you can no longer cap 1.75, which exactly what Strength of a Dragon just said. On auto attackers, this is just bad. 1.75 attack speed is too low on auto attack gods that you are relying to do consistent damage. It's very, very good on like Erlong's, Osiris's, Bellona's, where it's really easy to get those 2 autos off and you're not trying to go over 1.75. Like, this is a perfect Osiris item. Osiris jungle, Erlang jungle, I mean, Bellona jungle. Bellona might overcap or might want a little bit more than 1.75, but even then, taking a slightly less attack speed and then getting 17.7 or 17.5% pen over 2 stacks is pretty clean. Like the pen stacks with Silver Branch. It stacks with Dom. You're reducing their target and then, or the target's prots, and then you're penetrating them.
Nice.
Uller doesn't need attack speed. This is a lot of value on Uller. That's a myth. I guess a myth works. It's a myth with Osiris where you need attack speed. Osiris works best when you don't build attack speed on him. His auto attack cancels make it so he bursts faster when he doesn't build attack speed because he gets value in like other stats. Like this is almost a perfect Osiris item. You go like stone cutting into heavy execute, or I guess that's probably bad order to do, but you go like stone cutting into chins, into executioner, spirits robe, boombas, and then spectral. You're gonna be unkillable. Penetrate, they may say. Magi Shelter. Whenever your passive is consumed in the nearest allied god within 25 units, gains protection from a single hard crowd control effect for 5 seconds. If the passive is consumed before time runs out, they gain 1 second of crowd control immunity. The problem with this item is usually, like when you're at 25 units, usually you're getting CC'd with them. So if you think about Sylvanas blink ulting you, you're both getting CC'd at the same time. It makes it so strange because usually you're both getting hit by the same CC or you're not getting hit by the same CC, if that makes sense. I think Magi Shelter might be a bit underwhelming, but we'll see. Also, the problem with glyphs, you always got to keep in mind is it's an extra 600 gold on top of the item. So Magi's is 2150 right now. Magi Shelter is 2750. How many times are you going to be able to get to a spot like this in support where you can just invest 2750 gold? Rarely. That's the problem with glyphs and support. The item needs to be so valuable that it's like, that 600 gold is worth the investment. Magi's Revenge. The first god to hit you with a crowd control while you're protected becomes marked for revenge for 5 seconds. Gods marked for revenge cause enemy gods within 20 units to move 20% faster towards them and take 10% increased damage. This one just makes way more sense. So say an Athena just dash tots to your support who's got Magi's Revenge. Your team can now run at that Athena 20% faster and then does 10% increased damage to them. This one I think has a lot more relevancy in just Smite as a game. It just makes a lot more sense. Say you're playing support, you go Thebes into Magi's Revenge, and then you just kind of be a nuisance, and then if you get gone on, you can just kind of counter blow up the guy who's going on to you. I think this one sounds a lot better than the other one. So basically, the masks have been moved from an item to a starter, starting with Protector's Mask. Starter item, it gives 125 health, 100 mana, decreased damage dealt by 6%, and decreased damage taken by 6%, getting the assist, and then it's basically just got Sentinel's passive. The problem with this item is Sentinels is statted just better. This one gives you health and mana. Sentinels gives you health, no mana, but it gives you MP5. And then Benevolence gives you health, no mana, MP5, HP5. This one's going to be good if you're planning on building it, if you don't care about your damage. But a lot of the time, like, your damage is what carries you in the early game. And then you build the mask late game. Like, when you're playing Fenrir, you want your base damage and your base tankiness. Like, you don't care that you're a little squishier just because you're building into a Thebes. It makes it weird on these assassins that are trying to do damage, if that makes sense. On the backline mages, say like Esets, Noxes, Baron, I'm probably forgetting another mage, but or even like hunters like Artemis if you find that fun on her, stuff like that. you don't care about your damage. Your character's kit is the why you're playing it. But when you're playing Fenrir or Circuit, Nausea, your damage is important. So I think this item is mostly going to be built on mages, hunters, but it might see some value on like a single frontline Fenrir where you just want to be as tanky as possible, as fast as possible. And I also think this makes, because you can't build Lonos anymore, it makes those assassins actually a little bit worse in my opinion. Statted 300 health, 200 mana, 10% CCR, gain 5 stacks of cowardice. Each stack reduces your damage dealt and healing output by 10% for each 60 protections from items. So this one, I guess you're right. We shouldn't assume that it's just reducing healing. I would assume it's actually not, because they went out of the way to do taken and dealt. So I'd actually think this doesn't reduce healing, which is maybe it makes healing supports viable, because your heal carries you in the early game, and then you'll have the Lonos mask upgrade for the late game where you just want to be tanky and have your kit. So maybe that'll be something that I'll want to try out. That'll be pretty important. So we'll have to see. If it doesn't reduce healing, I'm interested to see how Afro and Hell feel with it. If it does reduce healing, they're not good supports. When you remove a stack of cowardice, gain a stack of bravery. For each stack of bravery, gain 3% mitigation, provide 7 magical protection to all ad guys. Oh, that part is clean. I didn't see this part before. So you can get 50% damage mitigation and 35 prots to your teammates. That's pretty cool. And then you go back to... hold on. So never mind. I guess I didn't know that it was gonna... the healing output would be removed completely. So this is just going to be better. If you're planning on playing an assassin or a mage, this item might be just bought, period. Even on assassins, like you're getting just mitigation. I underestimated how good Lonos was gonna be. This might be pretty OP. I didn't think I was gonna like this. I like this a lot. Increased damage dealt. This item gains your abilities to deal true damage to minions. I mean, this item, like Ranga's, has just never made sense. From a Smite point of view, this item just doesn't make sense. The entire like strength of warriors building damage is that they just have like the inherent tankiness of being a warrior, and then they just will do a lot of damage because you're building damage. So this has just never made sense to me to have. I mean, the passive is fine, but you'll just build conduit. Like if you're playing Xing Chen, you're not going to be like, holy f, man, I want to do some extra damage. 65 power, 90 power from items. When you get to the Ranga's upgrade, it removes the damage taken. So I mean, maybe there's value in it. I mean, if you're playing Xing Chen, and this is just giving you extra mitigation and movement speed, this might just be sick. Because I forgot this gets rid of the negative. Surely you can get to 450 power, right? Or even then, you can get to 360 in 2 items and then have 10% damage taken. Maybe not. That's still bad. I don't know. I guess this will need testing, but I just don't know why you'd want this over something else. The upgrade seems pretty good. Maybe it's one of those things where you just don't buy a starter, but then you're handicapping yourself for the first 25 minutes of the game. Ranked as a for fun item might be pretty good. Because if you build like just full damage like you guys know like the Terra tech. You remember like the Terra tech, right? Where you just play Terra in mid, you just blink in mid onto the back line, and then you just win the fight because you are blink Terra and your ult does 900 damage and it's impossible to Aegis. Like you guys know that. So then if you just add on top of the fact that you're just doing 15% extra damage and then you get a little bit of movement speed for healing, like I don't know, maybe we see some full damage Guardians just going the in. Again, it just kind of comes down to how does it feel better than what you can have elsewhere. Will this full damage mid lane or solo lane Rangda's mask feel better than a mid lane Merlin? My favorite thing about Smite is when stuff is cool and it's like you think outside of the box and then it comes to like fruition, and because of that it's cool. Like the tier 2 masks last year when it was bought in solo lane for like 9 patches, I thought it was sick as fuck. Eventually it gets boring and it should be nerfed, but for like 5-6 patches, if you find something that's cool and unique, like it should be, you should play it. All right, new tree. Mystical earrings, 15 MP5. Okay, no troll. Hear me out, support mains. We run out of mana super fast, right? 400 gold for some MP5. You know, maybe I'm just building the tier 1 mystical or mystical earrings. Sometimes we just need some MP5. 400 gold. We might need some MP5. It's a mana chalice that doesn't interfere with ward slots. Genius. Builds into Griffin Wing. This is the one. I think this is Griffin Wing is the ADC one, right? Yeah. So this is the one that can only be built by hunters. So we just ignore this one. We don't care about hunters. 20 power, 50% attack speed. You know, as a spiking item, this is actually pretty good. 20 power, 50% attack speed, MP5. 1,300 gold is actually not too bad. 1,400 gold for average to good power. It's good for a tier 2 and then cooldown MP5. The thing is, I could really see a meta where these tier 2 items are bought and like not the tier 3s if the tier 3s are bad. Like this is statted pretty good. The problem with Smite right now is it's not really a spiking game. It's mostly who can get to full build first. So that kind of mitigates this being like I want to get this as quick as possible. But I mean, this is statted like really well. 10% cooldown. If you look at what tier 1 Pridwin, 900 gold for 10% cooldown. For an extra 500 gold, you get MP5 and power. I mean, this item is just dog as a spike item. 200 health, MP5, HP5, 1200 gold. I mean, it's pretty whatever. No one is going to be like, holy man, I'm spiking. I got my rose spike earrings. This should be the only one that doesn't have spike. This should be jeweled spike studs. Class lock to hunters and mages. 40 power, 60 power, 25% attack speed, 15 MP5. Projectile speed is increased by 40. Basic attack damage reduced by 15. I think this is probably the memeiest item in the game. I don't think there's any value in buying this item, to be completely honest. In no way is this item going to be worth it. The projectile speed is just, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. But reducing your basic attack damage by 15% just makes it so you don't kill what's in front of you faster. It is cheap as 2200, but is it? This is Executioner is 2200. Would you rather have Griffin Wing earrings or Executioner? Executioner is giving you slightly less power, more attack speed, no MP5, but a useful passive. I would assume it doesn't affect chins because this is just basic attack damage. It's not like all damage. When you look at items, if the item says decreased damage dealt, this means that god's damage is getting reduced. If it's just basic attack damage, it's just that basic attack. So this is just the basic attack. Chin should still do full damage. Who doesn't love Omnipotence? Statted fine. 2700 gold, which is fucking expensive. Cooldown reduction cap increased from 40 to 60%. Ability damage dealt decreased by 20%. Ability healing increased by 20%. I think this item is going to be good on characters that don't care. And by don't care, I mean they're not like win or lose based on... It's good on characters that don't care about the damage or the healing of their abilities. They just care about their abilities. So no troll, on Yamoja, this does make a lot of sense. Because she has shielding on her 2. She's got CC on her 1. She doesn't care about the damage. Her 3 comes up more often. Her ult comes up more often. This makes a lot of sense on Yamojas. It makes a lot of sense on Hells. She doesn't really care that much about her healing in the late game. She cares a lot more of just how much utility she has and being able to live, the movement speed from her 3, the cleanse on her 2, the damage reduction on her 2. But like, you're not going to be playing Scylla and going, holy f***, once I get my Sphinx's baubles, I'm going to be no. It seems rather memey because you're reducing your damage dealt and you're reducing your ability healing. But if you think about it deeper than that, there's actually a lot of gods that could see a lot of value from this item. If you play Baron, Nox, Eset, Hell support, and then you go Lona's Mask into Sphinx's bauble, like, that's a lot of value. Yeah, it's a bit weird because it has no defensive stats, but I think it would be rather overpowered if it had defensive stats. Like, imagine a Hell with this, or like Eset with this, Nox with this. Mana Core spikes, statted pretty poorly. I looked at these ones, and they're statted pretty poorly in like just raw stat potential. CCR, HP5, MP5 health is not something that you're like, holy f***, that's huge. CCR is like pretty big. MP5 is pretty irrelevant if you have at least one MP5 item. HP5 is fine, but it's not like you are like trying to catch them all like Pokemon with your HP5 items. And then HP is always just good. So like the stats on this item, pretty bad. When you hit an enemy god with hard crowd control, they drop a spike on the ground. When you're an ally, pick up that spike, they gain a buff that causes their next ability to deal bonus damage equal to 3% of their maximum HP. This effect is doubled if you're the one who picks up the spike, and spikes last 7 seconds on the ground. It cannot stack, and picking up another spike when you have the buff refreshes the duration. This one just kind of comes down to how well you can utilize it in game. How fast does the item stat or drop? How fast can you pick it up? Because like when you hit chalices, when chalices originally came out, you'd hit it, it would drop, it would bounce for 6 seconds, and then like 6 seconds go by, you could pick it up. If it's that slow, it's going to be very hard to play around your spike because of that. If you're playing like Athena and you have a 2.5 second taunt, you taunt, the spike drops, you can pick it up, you can hit him with an ability, and they're still taunted. That is going to be a lot of value. So it really just depends on how fast you can pick it up, how fast it drops, how fast you can knock it onto somebody else. I haven't gotten to it yet, but with how much DR is in the game, how much CCR is in the game, and then the DR changes, it's very, very hard to have somebody locked down for more than a second and a half, 2 seconds. Another one that's statted pretty poorly, but like I said, these items are probably the best 2 passives out of all the new items. We'll just have to see how it feels in game. Each time an allied god dies within 70 units of you, or you heal an allied god with an ability, a flower drops from that ally that can be picked up by you or an allied god. Picking up the flower gives that god a shield equal to 7.5% of the maximum HP that lasts for 8 seconds. Does not sack, and new shield refreshes duration. Flowers last for 7 seconds on the ground. I think this one is going to be the hardest to tell how good it is in-game and out-of-game. Like, you can look at it, you can be like, holy f***, okay? If I just use my ability, and then we just go into a battle, 7.5% max health HP shield, that sounds sick as f***. but then your ability is on cooldown for when the engagement happens. So I really have no opinion on this god. I mean, on this item, on if it's going to be good or not. I could see a world where this is the worst out of all the items, like even worse than that auto attack one. And I could see a world where this is OP as f, and you have to have a god that can use this. This one's going to be very hard to tell how good it is going to be. From looking at it, I think it's going to be good, but I don't know. Brawler's meat stick. Oh, so my favorite thing with this patch is how healing is going to work and anti-heal is going to work. I literally just made a video on this because it was weird. The global out of combat anti-heal value started at 3 seconds. So it's once you stopped hitting somebody for 3 seconds, as soon as that 3 seconds hit, all your healing was reduced by 30%. Now it's 5 seconds. Healing used to last 6 seconds. So there was 3 seconds from 3 to 6 seconds after being hit that you were anti-healed by, I think like 70% anti-heal or something like that. Now it's just 5 seconds. You're anti-healed. Then once that Brawler's beat stick falls off you, you're going to have the out-of-combat healing. This is very good for Alma's in lane, Guan's in lane, Sun Wukong. It's probably biggest on Sun Wukong, honestly, but yeah. Big. I know, they did it right after I released the video. Awesome. Keep in mind, I'm pretty sure I know that it doesn't have Shadow Steel. Shadow Steel is still 10 seconds of anti-heal. I think people are underestimating Shadow Steel right now. As an item, that item is statted very well, and the anti-heal is probably one of the best anti-heal items in the game. Boombas. After casting an ability, your next basic attack deals an additional 80 true damage. After hitting a basic attack and powered by Boomba's Hammer, you're non-active, reduced by 1 per second, and you're healed for 120 health. Yeah, so once you get to 2,400 health or 2,500 health, you're getting a smaller heal. Most characters in the game get over 2,400 health, to be completely honest. Especially with this Boombas, 150 health, 300 health. The heal is a nerf 99.99% of the time. I guess there's a couple scenarios where maybe Hell Boombas isn't going to be less damage. It'll probably be a little bit more. But a lot of the time, the healing is going to be less. Your non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 1 second. This one was all your active cooldowns. Pretty big nerf to gods that want to spam their ultimate and get it back up with Boombas. And then the stats on it, less health. The cooldown does... This is probably the most irrelevant part because usually you're like over-capped anyway and you don't really care. And you're still just buying the item just because it's perfect. And then you just get power. So, like, overall, it's a small nerf, but I don't think this item is even nerfed that hard. Gods that use this item are still going to be using this item. Gods that didn't use this item are still not going to be able to use this item, like supports. Yeah, I've always thought that this needed to be nerfed. I think it should be maybe 20 true damage and then plus 10% of your power as magical and 20 or 40% as a physical or something like that. Obviously, I don't have the exact number that I would do, but most gods don't really care about this. They actually might even like it because now they're getting power. Like Brennan's Cuckoo. Brennan's Cuckoo now gets an extra 70 power. He doesn't really care about getting his ult up a little bit more. Amulet of Stronghold. Love this. Yeah, I mean, this is good. Amulet of Silence. Another good one. I think the problem with both of these glyphs is that they're just weaker compared to almost all the other glyphs in the game. You look at the Deathbringer glyphs, cooldown reduction, damage reduction, slow, movement speed, slow. Like, those items are obnoxious and broken. And then this one's like slightly extra protections. This one's a cooldown on a silence on a 30-second cooldown. Support starter items 15. We'll have to pay attention to this. We'll have to see how supports feel at 15. I will say it should line up where you get 3 full items. You have both your relics upgraded, and then you hit level 15 and then you upgrade your starter. So the level 15 support, you should be your starter item, Thebes, Sov, Shoguns, and then 2 fully tier 3 relics, which should feel a lot better than level 17. It almost came out where you would have tier 1 spirits robe, and then you had to wait 2 levels, and then you wouldn't have enough gold at level 17 to finish your starter, so you had to like sell your spirits robe, or you could get like tier 2 spirits robe where you just like hold on to 900 gold and then you go farm for like 15 seconds. Sentinel's nice little buff. Sentinel's Embrace, a nice little buff. It makes sense. Like, I get why they're buffing Sentinels, but where the is the war flag love? How many war flags have we seen this year? 0? Why are we not looking at war flag? Anything. Break it. I don't care. Make it OP for a patch. Let me build something that's not Benevolence and Sentinels. No, I can't even say that because now I'm getting Lonos. So I can't even say like, oh, I've only built 2 of them. Well, now I can build Lonos. I want them to do something with war flag where it's just like a fuck it. When you invade the enemy camps, you get full XP from it. So like if you're actually ahead, you can snowball a little bit more by invading and getting the full XP. Genius. That was right off the fucking dome. But I will say 6 gold on the Sentinel's Embrace. I think this kills Boone, to be honest, just so everybody knows. I think Sentinel's Boone is dead. The reason Boone was so clean was you would just full heal and then you'd get a lot of gold every time you were pushing waves. But now this one you just get passively and you don't have to play around waves. And then the protections to your teammates are better than the health to yourself, I think. I can't remember what this is. I think this gives you 70 procs of each to yourself. And Boone is just giving you 45 prots to yourself. So this one makes you tankier. It makes your team tankier. Now you're getting gold sustain or gold per 5 instead of having to play off of a wave. Like Boone might have some value in like some games, but 90% of the time you're just getting more value out of Sentinel's Embrace. Relic Dagger. This is a nice change. This is a nice change. With how supports will feel now, level 15 upgrades. You have Thebes, Relic Dagger, Spirit's Robe. Say that's your 3 items. You have Sentinel's Embrace, and then you have your 2 relics that are now going to be on a 70-second cooldown each. Tyrannical, increase minion buff from 25% to 25%, or 20 to 25%. I mean, sure. I don't think this is going to make the item OP or anything. I don't think it's going to change it. People are probably still not buying it. Mail renewal. 30 prots to each. Guys, we might be a renewal gamer. I love renewal. I love renewal as an item. It makes so much sense. The problem is it's just overshadowed by Thebes. But now, 30 prots of each instantly, and then a heal to you and your team. It's probably still worse than Thebes, to be honest. But I might buy it a couple times. Sledge. 30% CCR. Woo! Regrowth is getting power. When I played Hercules support, I like to go Sledge into like Spirit's Robe into Shielded Regrowth. And they buffed 2 of these items, and Spirit's Robe is already the best tanky item in the game. So, Hercules might be back, boys. I've been asking for this for so long. Why the f did Pythags have pen? Who is going out of their way to buy Pythags for the pen? If you want pen, buy Warlocks. Like, why did they ever remove the cooldown from this item? This item was so fun as a solo lane item and a support item with the cooldown. And then eventually they just removed it, and you're like, okay, well, now I'm losing my 10% cooldown, and I'm getting extra pen when I'm playing whatever the support. I think it's going to be bought a lot. This item is so clean now. Like, it's perfect. This item is perfect. The item is still going to be strong. It actually is probably better. Yeah, I mean, the item is probably better than it was before. Yeah, it'll be bought on different characters. Merlins who transform and then get in there. Tiamat. Celestial Legion Helm is getting crit damage reduction. I don't think I like this. This makes Mercury just hard to play. Buff duration, 8 to 12 seconds. Nice little buff. I think Bracer of Illumination is just outdone by Bracer of Radiance, so we'll have to see. This is probably my favorite change in the entire patch. This 4% current HP is every, I think it's 0.5 seconds. So you're doing 8% of their current HP every second that they sit in it, and it reapplies the healing item, or the anti-heal and proc on it. Gods like Sylvanas, which the ticking, gods like Hell, who has a ticking heal. This Drowned Ankh is actually going to be super good. It might be a viable upgrade. And it stacks with the other anti-heal items. So if you're playing against Vamana, Yamoja, Hell, and you're like, I need some anti-heal. I kind of get where they were going with this item, but it doesn't make sense. Why would I choose this knockback one over the other one? I mean, I guess 33% is pretty big, but base med is so bad. And then both the upgrades are now like, well, this one might be pretty bad still, but the other upgraded one is pretty good. But the problem is the base one is just so pass from 7% current health is magical damage, 5% current health is true damage. Still useless. Just buy the other one. The other one just is easier. It's better. You can use it in more than one scenario. The other beads, you can just use it because you want a cooldown reset. You guys know what I said about this one? Same thing as with this one. Why the do you want to tremble somebody when you can make them do 90% reduced damage? These are probably 2 of the worst relics in the entire game. It's still not great, but like, if you get like a 5-man Sundering Blast, like, that might be pretty good. Problem is, I think the other relics are still just easier to use. Place your Bracer on the ground and you have 15% extra power, 50% movement speed. But I do think this is one of my favorite relics in the game, and I wish it was a little bit better. And this Thorn sucks. Well, I shouldn't even say this one. Both Thorns suck. I'm trying to think of how we should talk about this, because this is a pretty big thing, but it's also a lot. I guess this is pretty big to start off with, and then this is pretty big. DR stacks are now visible. So you can now see how many stacks of diminishing returns you have, so you can play around it and when you're losing it. Because it is something you think about. Like, I just got CC'd, so I won't be CC'd for much longer. But now you have an actual visible thing where you don't have to, like, watch the clock to see how long you have. It's 15 seconds. You have 15 seconds between CCs before DR disappears. Oh. Last 50 seconds of duration is fresh in each new application. DR can no longer be applied to yourself or allies. I think the best way to talk about it is DR used to stack twice, and it was 40%. Now it stacks 4 times for 20%. Big CCs, like these true hard CCs, banishes, grabs, knockbacks, knockups, polymorphs, pulls, give you 2 stacks of DR. Hold on, I'm gonna go water Baker and tell him to shut up. BRB. Intoxicates and Troubles are now soft CCs, so they have no stacks. And then Roots are now considered a hard CC. God DR adjustments. On her impale is a stun. Ares no escape is a stun. Stun. Okay. Ao Kuang. Water illusion 70%. Dragon Sword is his passive. is now down 10 seconds. Nice little buffs to Ao Kuang. Always worried about Ao Kuang buffs. Healing reduction is up 5%. 5%. Holy f***. Useless. And then the base damage on his spit is up. I mean, it's more than, because of these 4 heads he's spitting from. I think it's like 30, or this ends up only being like 30 or 25 or something like this. But it's still, this character's damn useless. Cupid. Done to minions from 50 to 60% on both the initial. Okay. Base heal per heart. Actually, this is pretty big. This is pretty big. This is worth a little bit. 140 late game, 100 or 110 to 140. This is actually pretty good. Also 10 in the early game. So now instead of only healing 90, he heals 120. Cupid might see a little bit of viability. Disco. Strife. Base damage is up a little bit. Nice. Erratic behavior. Decreased cooldown. 1 second. I mean, it's a nice little buff to Disco. Commanding presence. I think this is her passive. I don't remember exactly how it works. I think it's every time you auto reduces, and then every time you auto, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's her buff. Hercules. 1 second on driving strike, and then 1 second across the board on Earthbreaker. I love this. Bots. Now knock up and knock back immune while channeling this ability, and increase that in base damage by 5 or 10 early game and 15 late game. Do you max? You might have to. The problem is his base damage on his 1 is super high, so you get a lot of value from leveling it. But bringing this down from 13 to 11 is a lot of value. Nike! Shit! Rend cooldown goes down 14 to 12. Barrier formation is up in damage. I mean, this is helpful, but this is useless. A nice little buff to pit. Shirket. Let's go to the important buffs. Base damage. Okay. All right. Pretty useless. So this is just buffs to their useless jungle clearing abilities. Ares Shackles, instead of hitting the camp for 150, will now hit for 160. Danza Burrows 2, which used to hit for 180, now hits for 220 or something like that. Morgan 1, which one-shots everything, and she one-shots camps and fucking one-shots you. Now one-shots camps with her 1 also. Useless. Useless. Stupid. Chang'e, just a little buff to Chang'e. Her 50 now deals extra damage to minions. Awesome. I guess Chang'e hasn't been played in a long time, but everybody hates playing against Chang'e. This character is not fun to play against. Thor, this is a good change. Thor finally doing extra damage. Or, not extra. Not doing reduced damage to camps is good. This is a good change. And then the Donger, he just gets 7 base protections at level 1. That's a lot. This character is getting his base prots double almost. Also, I don't give a about this. I hate this change. Even if you're a fan of casual Smite and you like Slash and Arena and like that, now if you play like the other game modes to have fun, you're gonna have like a different idea of how these gods play in like Conquest. It opens up to more Conquest buffs, but it's just bad. Like it makes it so like if you play other games, it ruins how that god plays. But that's fair. Other people might like him. I don't like it. I get where they're coming from. Like it makes sense. Opwash is OP in Conquest, or OP in non-Conquest, and then shit in Conquest. I get it. All right, that's all the patch.
And that's it for the 9.7 patch notes. Have a good night, because he always says good night, even though his videos release at noon every day. I don't get it. Don't have a good night. Have a good day.